So Ron would have not been governor if it wasn't for me, and that's okay. Number one, he wouldn't have gotten a nomination, and number two, he wouldn't have beaten his Democrat opponent. So then when I hear he might run, you know, I consider that very disloyal, but it's not about loyalty. But to me it is. It's always about loyalty, but for a lot of people it's not about loyalty.
Are you surprised to see him openly criticizing DeSantis this early? What do you think?
No, I'm not surprised. If you think back on the 2016 primary, he was taking shots at everybody in the race, even people who were at 0 and 1%. In the case of DeSantis, there are a lot of polls where DeSantis is ahead of Donald Trump, including in key early states. So I'm not surprised. I expect him to come after DeSantis pretty hard. You know, Trump's the only person officially in the race right now, but it sure looks like DeSantis is going to run. And if you look at the whole field, the Florida governor looks like the one who might have the reservoir of support among all corners of the party to actually beat Donald Trump in a primary.
Well, then what do you make about this phone call we're learning about with Nikki Haley calling him, saying she wants to get in the race and you know, feeling him out? And he said, basically, if that's what you feel in your heart, go for it. I mean, on one hand, it really works to his advantage, right, to have as many join the race as possible.
Yeah, a big field who actually stays in it through the voting helps Donald Trump. In 2016, he only got about 45% of the Republican vote, but he won the nomination because of the winner-take-all system. You would just have to get the most votes in these states to get all the delegates. And so if he could get a big field that stays in it for far too long, it would really advantage him, or frankly anyone who kind of carries a strong base, but it's not a majority of the party. My anticipation is the field will be smaller this time around, and people will drop out earlier than they did last time. What you really need, if you want to take out Donald Trump, is to get it down to a one-on-one match with somebody that people really like. And right now, it looks like DeSantis is that person. Other people will give it a go, but certainly DeSantis is in a class by himself of the non-Trump candidates.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, we've been seeing some interesting polling data out of those key early primary states. Ron DeSantis coming in well ahead of Trump among Republicans in New Hampshire, leading the former president by a full 12 points. There are similar numbers there in South Carolina. I mean, with numbers like that, Scott, is Trump losing his title as the party's 2024 frontrunner?
I think he is still probably the front runner if you take all the metrics into account: money, organization, you know, a cadre of people who are fully dependent upon him for their livelihoods. I mean, he still is quite a formidable candidate. So I guess nominally he's the front runner. And plus, there are no other candidates technically at the moment. But you can't look at this polling if you're Ron DeSantis and not be fully intrigued by where you stand. You've done nothing. You've not filed a committee. All you've done is run for re-election and trounce your Democrat opponent. And yet you are right here in the driver's seat of the candidates who want to take on and maybe take out Donald Trump. So I expect him to run, and I think he's going to be quite popular. I've seen a lot of polling, Pamela, from around the country in different states, private polling. I got to tell you, Trump's still popular. DeSantis is just as popular, but he doesn't have nearly the amount of detractors inside the party that Trump does.
Yeah, I mean, even just anecdotally in our home state of Kentucky, when I was talking to folks there recently, there was a theme of folks who used to support Trump saying, I'd like to see Ron DeSantis get in this race. I'd like to see him run. But, you know, at the same time, you've got to look at the reality here, right? And what Trump did the last time and what he's capable of doing again. Matthew Continetti has an interesting piece in the Free Beacon where he warns that the U.S. political class is behaving alarmingly similar to how they did in the run-up to 2016, writing, once again, Trump's opponents think he will just disappear. No Republican wants to attack him directly, but the only way to thwart him, Trump, is to make voters choose someone else. I mean, at what point do his challengers start challenging him? Even Ron DeSantis has been, hasn't really been doing the kind of direct engagement you might expect.
I would say pretty soon you're going to see people start to take further steps. I mean, for the people who are not Trump or DeSantis, one of the problems they have is figuring out, is there any oxygen for me? I mean, Trump and DeSantis take up nearly the entire oxygen in the primary right now. Everybody else is in the low single digits. Even former Vice President Pence, who's well known, is a single digit candidate right now. So I'm not sure it's as much Trump keeping them out as it is DeSantis because of how popular nationally with the Republicans. But I agree with Matthew. At some point, somebody's going to have to take him on. and somebody's going to have to make Republicans choose. And I will say, I think broadly across the American electorate, in both parties, there is a demand for new candidates, new blood, new generation of leadership. And the party that chooses new is going to have a huge advantage if the other party chooses old. And if I were Ron DeSantis, that's something I'd be making the case for. Democrats are going Biden. Let's pick somebody new and ride this thing and win it and put together a coalition that can carry the national popular vote.
All right, Scott Jennings, nice to see you. Thank you.